Hi everyone, this is Ms. Sarah Bassioni. I'll be with you today. We're starting at semester 1 and we're working on unit 1, lessons 1 and 2. Our theme of the day is visitors to Egypt. I want you to think about the people, or in other words, the tourists that come from all over the world to visit Egypt. I want you to think of the kind of activities they do and the cities they visit. And we're about to get started. Let's see our objectives for the day. We're going to be talking about holiday activities. We're going to read an email recommending holiday places and activities, and we're going to give advice using should and shouldn't. So first of all, I'd like you to look at the slide that has 4 pictures and try to guess what each activity or each picture is. The first one is done for us. So the first picture resembles a girl who is looking at some fish underwater. So try to think what kind of activity this is called. It's already written on the screen. You can read it, which is snorkeling. Can you say snorkeling? The other words are bazaar, windsurfing, and a youth hostel. Okay. Try to think of what a bazaar is. If we think of a bazaar, we have to think of a place where we go to shop for traditional things that tourists enjoy buying. Maybe in other words, we call them souvenirs. We can also look at the word windsurfing. Windsurfing, it's a compound word. So it's a word made up of 2 words put together. Now, from the word windsurfing, I'm sure you can guess what kind of activity would be done. It's a really fun activity, but it needs a lot of practice. You can go to Ras Sidr and have some windsurfing activities. And of course, for younger people who travel, sometimes hotels are quite expensive and they have to pay a lot of money. So going to a youth hostel would save them money. They can spend the night there. So try to match the word with the picture. And let's move on. We're going to be reading an email written by Selma to Catherine. Dear Catherine, I'm so happy to hear that you and your family are visiting Hurghada in the spring. It's a wonderful place for a holiday. There's a lot to do and many places to stay. You can camp, stay in a hotel, or in the new youth hostel. It's very modern and comfortable, but much cheaper than the hotels. You can find out information at the Tourist Information Center. You should go there when you arrive. It's next to the police station in the middle of the new part of the city. Hurghada has some beautiful beaches. When it's windy, you should definitely try to blank too. Take a boat trip to the islands around Hurghada. You can go scuba diving or blank. You can also go fishing from a boat. You shouldn't walk too much in the sun. It's best to visit places early in the morning. Don't forget to go to the blank in the old part of the city. It's a good place to buy souvenirs. Have a great time, Salma. Okay, let's look at question 2. Why do you think tourists visit Hurghada? What activities are there to do? If you've ever been there, I want you to try and refresh your memory and tell me, what have you done when you traveled to Hurghada? There are many things to do. Maybe snorkeling, maybe scuba diving, maybe just going into the glass boat and watching the beautiful corals and fish. Our suggested answers for question 2 is you can go to beautiful beaches, go windsurfing, take a boat trip, go scuba diving and snorkeling, go fishing, or even visit the bazaar. Okay, now let's check our answers for the words in the blank on the right-hand side in the email. If we look at number 2, when it's windy, you should definitely try windsurfing. So you can only windsurf when it's a windy day so that the air can help you enjoy this activity. Let's look at number 3. You can go scuba diving or snorkeling. Let's go to number 4. Don't forget to go to the bazaar in the old part of the city. So make sure as we work together, guys, please write your answers in your notebooks and we will check them all together. Okay, now we're going to exercise 5. We're going to choose the correct words. Number 1 is already done for us, so let's read it together. Catherine isn't coming or is coming to Hurghada in the spring. After we have read the email, we know that Catherine is coming to Hurghada in the spring. Let's go to question 2. The youth hostel is more or less expensive than a hotel. If you're not sure, you can always go back to the text and reread it. It's okay to reread twice or even 3 times to get the right answer. So number 2 is less. Let's move on to number 3. The police station is in the old or the new part of the city. Let's find the answer in the text, and it is new. So number 3 is new. Let's go to number 4. You can take a boat to go windsurfing or fishing. You can take a boat to go windsurfing or fishing. If you're going to take a boat, what would you rather do, windsurf or fish? It's probably fishing. Number 5. Salma advises Catherine to go or not to go to the old part of the city. She definitely advises her to go. Okay, let's move on to lesson 2. Guys, we're going to be underlining the modals used for advice in these sentences. So we're basically going to find the verbs that help us give advice to others. The first one is done for us. You should go there when you arrive. The word should is underlined. Let's move on to number 2. You should definitely try some windsurfing. So we're going to underline should in number 2, and then we're going to underline shouldn't in number 3. You shouldn't walk too much in the sun. Okay, let's recap and refresh our memories. What are modal verbs? They are special verbs that behave differently from regular verbs. They give extra information on the function of the main verb that follows it. So if you look at the sentences at the top, you should go. You should definitely try. You shouldn't walk. All these modals are followed by verbs. The first one is go, the second one is try, and the third one is walk. So they help us know the behavior or the function of the main verb. Examples of other modals are can, could, may, might, will, would, shall, should, and must. You can write those down in your notebooks so that you can remember in the future. We can move on now to the grammar box. Okay, so the grammar box today is basically for giving advice. So if you want to give someone advice or tell someone a piece of information that is going to help them, you can use should and shouldn't. We use should or shouldn't to say that something is or is not a good idea. You should and shouldn't are followed by the infinitive without to. Let's look at the examples. You should go now. The bus goes in 10 minutes. So if you're giving advice to someone who must catch the bus, you will use should. Let's look at the next part. The form is the same for all subjects, singular and plural. Tourists should wear sun cream when it's very hot. You shouldn't watch too much television. Let's move on now to exercise 2. Read the situations and give advice using should or shouldn't. Number 1 is done for us. Let's read it together. Your friend is going outside. It's raining. What should be done here? We should probably advise them not to go. So we might say, you shouldn't go outside. It's raining. What do you guys think? Should we go outside in the rain? I think it would be fun, but we're going to be very, very cold afterwards. Let's look at number 2. Your friend forgot to do his or her English homework. The lesson starts in 5 minutes. How should we advise them? I want you to think. What could we say to someone who forgot his or her homework? And the lesson is about to start in 5 minutes. Okay, you should tell the teacher you should do the homework quickly. So you can either tell the teacher that you did not do it and just be honest, or you should try and do the homework quickly. It's your choice. Okay, let's go on to number 3. Your younger brother or sister wants to look at the sun. Your younger brother or sister wants to look at the sun. If you look at the sun, what happens to your eyes? So is it a good idea? If it's not a good idea, should we advise them not to do it? We can say, you shouldn't look at the sun. You shouldn't look at the sun. Let's move on to number 4. Your friend fell over when he or she was playing sport. Now it hurts when he or she walks. What advice should we give them if their legs hurt after having an injury while playing sports? You should go to the doctors, or you should stop walking and rest your feet. We can say either one of them. Let's move on to number 5. There's a small fire in your washing machine. Your younger brother or sister gets some water. I'll say it again. There is a small fire in your washing machine. Your younger brother or sister gets some water. What would you advise them to do here? You shouldn't pour water on electrical items. Okay. Our third exercise for Unit 1, Lesson 2. Use the table to give advice for tourists. So I want you to read the table and try to use it to give advice to tourists that are traveling to Egypt. Take lots of photos, drink water from the canal, try some Egyptian food, stay in the sun for too long. Okay, what do you think we should tell them as advice? Which is good advice and which is bad advice? Okay, if you look at the right-hand side, in the speech bubble, the two girls are talking to one another and one of them tells the other they should take lots of photos. So what do you think tourists should do? Think about advice you would give to tourists who come to Egypt. We can say, you should take lots of photos. We should also say, you shouldn't drink water from the canal. You should try some Egyptian food. What kind of Egyptian food do you guys suggest? Do you suggest koshari or molokhia? What do you like? And you shouldn't stay in the sun too long. Now it's your turn. Give your friend an advice using should and shouldn't, and practice using your vocabulary words and create your own sentences and dialogues. Thank you. That's a wrap. Today we have completed talking about holiday activities. We read an email talking about advice in traveling, and we gave advice using should and shouldn't. Great job, guys. I'll see you again soon.